Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. It is great to be with you once again, wherever you are watching us from. We thank you, and we are happy to have you. We hope that you enjoy this show, and boy, have we got a lot to cover here. A lot of NASCAR stuff, because obviously championship weekend concluded last weekend, and it was, shall we say, it was interesting. And we'll get to what that means in short order here. This show, as always, being brought to you by the good folks from Radical Race Gear. If you want to look like it, if you want to be a champion, you ought to first look like one, shouldn't you? And Radical Race Gear has the finest in customized driver gear, sublimated shirts for the crew. They've got tents that can be customized with logos and such. They've got carpet for your trailer. They can make you look like $1 million at the racetrack. RadicalRaceGear.com is the website. Go check it out and get you and your team ready to rock for 2026. Jacob Seelman is my co-host. Jacob, you and I were watching closely throughout the NASCAR championship weekend, and I'm looking forward to sort of diving into things with you. I think that we ought to probably start with the Cup Series.
Indeed. And before we do that, I just want to make the point that, yes, Butch Lamb and his crew can make you look like $1 million. Just don't ask for $1 million, because Butch will look at you and go, I wish I had it just as much as the rest of you do. But I digress.
He's just not giving it away.
Exactly. The NASCAR Cup Series championship race, shall we call that a bit of a doozy? I would go a little further than just interesting, because we had tire failures, we had turns of fate, we had a late race caution, we had overtime, and in the end, as I wrote in my feature for SteeringWheelNation.com, we had Kyle Larson coming all the way back from one of those tire failures, and as low as 33rd and a lap down after said tire failure, to take 2 tires ahead of overtime and finish 3rd in the race to defeat Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and his Hendrick teammate William Byron, who, oh, by the way, brought out that last caution that Larson was able to capitalize on to win his 2nd Cup Series championship. And, oh, by the way, he was only, and I'm kind of jumping my Seelman stat of the week here, he was only the head driver in the championship for all of 7 miles in the entire race. Winless since May, and yet he is the champion. And he would be the champion even if we had full season points like everybody's screaming for. So before we get to that debate, Tom, I will ask you first your thoughts on Kyle Larson joining outgoing champ Joey Logano as only the 3rd active multi-time champion, Larson, Busch, Logano in that category.
Well, first, that's those are 3 pretty doggone good race car drivers right there. I know a lot of fans don't like Joey Logano, and they can just shush. I don't really care. The fact is that Joey is a great driver, and he's always been a great champion when he's been the champion. He's a great representative for the sport. But, honestly, to your point, about Kyle Larson and how little he actually led, I don't want to hear it. Kyle Larson is the champion. This was the format. Kyle Larson did what he needed to do, and he won the championship. So I am perfectly fine with Kyle Larson being the champion. He is a rock star of a driver after all. And, look, we can have a debate, and we will on this show. We will have a debate later about the format and what we think should or shouldn't be done. But, this particular year, this is what the format was. And Kyle used the right strategy, or his crew chief did, to give him a 2-tire stop and get him out there ahead of Denny Hamlin, who took on 4. And Kyle ended up just being able to finish ahead of him. There's so much that I feel like we can talk about that was bad on Sunday. But one of the things that I will not say was bad was that Kyle Larson ended up winning the title, because, again, that's the format, and Kyle did what he needed to do. And so he now has his second championship, as you said, joining Kyle Busch and Joey Logano as the only 3 active drivers with more than 1 title. And I certainly don't believe that it's going to be Kyle Larson's last NASCAR championship, provided that he stays around long enough. So, I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to cry a river, though obviously we'll get to this in due course. But, heartbroken for Denny Hamlin, who dominated the race. But look, I think it was a decision made in the pits that cost him the win. So I can't fault the format for that.
All right, so I'm going to say straight up, and I'll get you into a little early debate here, I guess, between you and I.
Okay.
I don't know how much you've been on social media since Sunday's race, but
too much.
Just vitriol is not a strong enough word. It just, in terms of everything, all the you want reaction, there's been reaction in spades. Number one, I think it's just ironic that the caution that ultimately led to Larson being able to capitalize and win the championship was his teammate, who up until 3 laps to go in regulation had not put a tire wrong all day. He just didn't quite have the speed that Denny Hamlin had. My thoughts on all of this, and it's taken me some time to really, since Sunday, to process this and put it all together. You will not at all hear me say that Kyle Larson is not a deserving champion. That is not at all I am not arguing the worth of Kyle Larson as a champion. Kyle Larson would have been the champion in a 36 race points format, just as he was the champion in.
Let me stop you there just for a second, Jacob, because I said the same thing, but somebody pointed out to me the other day, and I, when they did, I was like, okay, I get it. I know what you're saying. We can say that, Jacob, but the reality is, if we'd started the year with the old format, every driver would have raced differently than they did in a format where, once you're in, you don't have to worry so much about the next track. So that while I understand comparing the two, if everything were the same, it's not a valid comparison. So I just want to get it out there that we both understand that. That's all.
No, we do. I'm making the point, right, wrong, changed driving styles or not, that looking at the numbers, that's how it was. So, and when you look statistically, Kyle Larson led the majority of top 5 and top 10 categories this season, regardless of the fact that once you're in, you're in. He didn't win a race since May, and he still would have scored more points than anybody else all season long. So that I'm just putting that out there, that yes, his body of work was more than deserving of a championship, whether there were eliminations or whether there weren't. I think at the end of the day, and this is that it took me a while to come to this, but this is how I feel about it. At the end of the day, the reason why I'll put myself in this category, and so many of the fans feel the way we feel about it, I think, is because of the fact it's a narrative-based problem. It's not, it is a little bit about the format, but when you go back and look at the broadcast from Sunday, you realize that the only story that was beaten to death, almost to being the dead horse, was Denny Hamlin. Would this finally be Denny's year? And considering the fact that Denny dominated that race, that was the story that was pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And you heard very little, if any, about the worth of what this would mean for Larson to have a second championship, for
Right.
Chase Briscoe to get a championship, for William Byron to get a championship. It was all about Denny Hamlin. So when that emotional swing happened at the end of the race and Kyle Larson ultimately gets the championship, because of that emotional string being pulled all day and really all week long leading up to the championship, it felt like for those watching, your soul was just getting ripped out because it's a narrative problem right now that we have in NASCAR's top 3 series in my view of all of this. I can understand why fans feel I use the term wronged. That doesn't feel quite right by the swing at the end. It just feels like at the end of the day that we finally reached a tipping point where even I say the people that were defending the elimination format, there's one person who will remain nameless except on social media where people have just been going nuts against him today. I'll say most of the
Oh,
people
yeah, I know what you're talking
defending
about.
that have defended the elimination format in the past, I think are coming around to realize that this has just not necessarily worked in NASCAR the way I think Brian France, who was the one who put all this together, thought it would. And I read something, I don't remember where the article came from off the top of my head, but I read something
Yeah.
today that really resonated with me in that this format and the way some champions have been crowned, worth aside, has diminished the star power, building star power among a lot of drivers. And I think that's part of the identity problem that NASCAR has right now is we've spent 12 years now with this elimination format that we could have spent building so much more star power in some of your top level drivers that we just have not built because the format has diminished it.
Well, okay, so you packed a lot into that, so I'll try to respond to it
Okay.
all one point at a time. First of all, the star power thing, yeah, I don't know, maybe. I feel like star power is earned. Okay, I feel like athletes, if that's who we're talking about, just like, musicians or anyone else, I feel like you have to earn that star power by how you build your brand and how you communicate with, the fans of whatever it is that you're doing. So I don't know if I think this format has necessarily been a contributing factor into the lack of star power. I would more attribute the lack of star power to the fact that I think there just are a lot of drivers in the series who are not as naturally entertaining as some of the drivers of the past. We don't have a Kenny Wallace. We don't have a Tony Stewart. We don't have, we just there are a lot of these drivers that are just not, it's not that they're not nice people, but that's kind of part of it is, they're very nice people. They're just not necessarily flashy. And I think star power is more so based on flash or on pure accomplishment. And I think, I think the drivers themselves need to do better building their own brands. Now, as to the argument about the format itself, okay, I totally, at this point, I look, I don't care what you do. My personal preference, I like having a final event. I like having it go down to the last event, because I think that's where you see the real, I always say that greatness ascends, okay, when the pressure goes up. And when I look at what happened on Sunday, okay, I think Denny Hamlin's crew chief let him down. I think that 4-tire stop was and of course, again, it's easy to Monday quarterback, but I think the 4-tire stop honestly was a bad idea. Track position's much more key in the Cup Series than it is in the Truck Series. You're not going to see Denny Hamlin go 7 wide into the corner and pass his way to first in a lap and a half. And I just think, that became his undoing. So I don't blame the format. I think, honestly, his crew chief cost him the race. And I think we all have to just understand that and live with it. Now, do I think the format should be changed? Yes. Do I think it will be changed? Yes. And I think for the people that just want the, season long, none of the races are any more special than the others. No playoffs, no eliminations. Just go back to the 36 race thing that we had before. I think those people, their chances of getting their wish probably went up 75% after the weekend because the playoff format got hammered. And I think somewhat unjustifiably, to be honest. But again, I don't care which way you do it. I do, however, to your point about the narrative, 100% agree with you. That's all they talked about on Sunday was Denny Hamlin. Of course, Denny Hamlin led, it felt like he led every lap of the entire race until the end.
200 plus.
Yeah, I mean, he led a whole bunch of laps, right? So it's hard not to talk about him when you're the leader. But there were 4 guys, okay, with a shot at winning the title. And they really spent more time talking about Denny than they did anything else. And so I do agree with that. And I think, I think we've got to do a better job of telling more stories about more drivers, even the ones that aren't in the Final Four. And, but
and that's my response to a lot of people is if you need playoffs and you need eliminations to be, spoon-fed stories because you can't sit down long enough to find the other 150 stories that are in the garage area just waiting to be told
every
then
week.
You need to do to do a better job.
I agree.
Period.
I agree. I don't think I to the point that people make about manufactured drama, okay, I don't think we need it, okay, in NASCAR. I really don't. I think, honestly, if we stop trying to basically glorify, fighting and, have at it, boys, and, we could eliminate the playoffs. I do think there should be more points and a bigger bonus for winning, for leading laps, for racing hard, so we don't go back to the drivers riding around for 3/4 of the race. And then, stepping on it in the last quarter. I think if we can do that, I think there'll be plenty of stories. And I also think that organically, the drivers' personalities, the star power will start to come out because it's a 36 race knockdown, drag out to the finish. So you'd better be up on the wheel every lap of every week or you're going to get left by somebody else who is. And I would totally appreciate that. So I don't care what they do with the format. It's the same for everybody. And if the fans want a season long and that's what the drivers want, then as long as we do it and as long as we keep the stage points, get rid of the stage cautions. I don't know why we think we need them. It's an excuse for TV to take a commercial so you don't miss any racing. Just, one less commercial break. It won't kill anybody. And just do it and run side by side commercials and it'll be fine. And then just really incentivize winning, big time incentivize winning, and laps led. And I think we'll be all right.
For sure. Real quick, I want to jump to my stat of the week so that we can get that in
Yep.
before we continue in some of our other cup bullet points. Sunday, marking the first time in the 12-year elimination era that the eventual champion earned that championship without leading a single lap of the title race. This goes back to when the
Wow.
title race was still at Homestead Miami Speedway. And as mentioned earlier, or as I alluded to earlier, when you look at Kyle Larson, he was only best among the championship four, meaning he was only the highest running among the four championship drivers for 7 of the 319 laps in Sunday's race. And yet he walks away with the title. I'm not going to editorialize about that. I'm just giving you the numbers.
Well, and that's an interesting stat. And I will simply editorialize by saying that, again, this was the format. This is how it worked out. Kyle Larson did what he had to do, and Denny Hamlin's crew chief made a decision that put him too far back to make up the ground in an overtime situation. So Kyle Larson deserves the title and will be a fantastic champion for the next year until we crown the next one. With that, we are going to take a break. When we come back, much more of the Tom Baker Show after the break.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com. Welcome back to the show. Jacob Seelman is my guest or my co-host, beyond guest at this point. And we are talking NASCAR and talking championship weekend. And gosh, Jacob, I mean, I feel like we literally could do 3 shows about everything that happened, but we're still talking the Cup race on Sunday. And the name Brad Keselowski enters into the discussion.
Yes, he does, but he also enters into the discussion not just because he finished second in the race. Oh, by the way, that happened. But first, because of his thoughts on Denny Hamlin, and instead of Heartbreak Hill, I'm going to make it Heartbreak Hamlin. And I think this is what hurts me for Denny the most, is that he did everything right in this format as a driver and still lost the championship. So I'll ask you first, Tom, two-pronged question here. Number one, is Denny just destined at this point to never get this Cup Series championship? And number two, Brad made the comment in his season-ending thread on Twitter that he feels race wins at this point carry more weight than championships under the current elimination format, the one-race title. And Denny has won a lot of big races in the past few years. Does that, in your mind, obviously it doesn't make up for the fact that he has a 0 in the championship column, but that was a championship level effort on Sunday from Denny Hamlin, regardless of the end outcome, I feel like.
Well, Is he destined to not win a championship? Well, I know my head looks like a crystal ball, but it's in the same shape, but I can't see into the future. Here's what I feel like, though. I feel like Denny Hamlin is going to have as good a shot next year to win the championship as he had this year to win the championship, because whatever the format, Denny has always been a contender. He's always won races. I think that, he and Chris Gale are a great team. Joe Gibbs is not declining in performance, except for the motors at times, and apparently a clutch on Sunday that didn't really affect Denny's performance at all. But if they can get the mechanical gremlins fixed, I think Denny will still be a contender as long as he continues to race. Now, as to, does he need a championship? No. I mean, in the same way, I don't think Mark Martin needed a Daytona 500 or a championship to be a Hall of Famer or considered one of the best ever. The Cup Series is supposed to be hard, okay? And I will say that under the format of the last, 2004 to now, so, 21 years or so, it's been a very difficult thing to win a championship because you have had to be one of the, the top 10, the top 4, and it's all, there were so many layers to it with the eliminations in the later years and such of this format. I just don't, I don't think it matters. Denny Hamlin's one of the best to ever drive a NASCAR Cup Series car of any generation. And he's been one of the best in this Gen 7 era. And so that means that he's probably one of the most versatile of the NASCAR drivers. He's certainly weathered the Gen 7 transition better than Kyle Busch, for example, at least to date. So, no, I don't think he needs any of that to be a Hall of Famer, to be considered one of the best. He got to 60 races. This one, I think everybody wanted it for his dad. So I think that was partly his dad's obviously terminally ill. Denny didn't think, he would make it to see Denny run the next championship race or whatever. I think we all wanted that Hollywood ending, right? And, we didn't get it, but that's sports. Heartbreak is a part of sports. It's not supposed to be easy.
It is. Shifting to the Xfinity Series side now, champion again that came out and did what they had to do, much like Kyle Larson did. Jesse Love, Richard Childress Racing, the only non-junior motorsports car in that series championship for. He looked terrible. That car was terrible in the opening segment of Saturday's race at Phoenix, but he comes all the way back to win the race, win the championship. And oh, by the way, he drove past his best friend who dominated the year with 10 wins to do it. The last 25 laps were Jesse Love just powering away. I'll ask you, what does this do for Jesse Love's stock and star power going forward? Because he comes out and leaves with the championship trophy in a year where he was far from the favorite. It kind of reminded me of Tyler Reddick's championship from 2018 when he won Daytona, was just there, and then we get to the end of the year, boom, there he is.
Well, I said on this show in the beginning of the year that Jesse Love would go deep into the playoffs and contend for a championship. And then when he got there and we got down to Phoenix, you and I were together watching the race on Saturday. And I told you before it started, Jesse Love was going to win it. Jesse is a big gamer. Jesse is a young driver who, again, the real championship racer, championship athlete elevates their performance in big moments. And that has been Jesse for as long as I've known him. And I think I'm not surprised what he did. What I am surprised at was the lack of oomph that the 88 car had. I think the crew kind of let Connor Zilich down a bit. But what does this do for Jesse Love? I don't think we're going to know that until next year when he comes out again and starts defending the title in the same car that he won it in. but it certainly, I think in some ways, people, oh, he's not a champion, whatever. But honestly, I think what it did is put Jesse's name really on the map when it comes to drivers who are capable of achieving big things and holding it together through that bad round one and just steadily keeping the car going better and better and better. The crew comes up with a pit stop that that puts them 6 positions ahead, and Jesse did the rest. I mean, he drove a fantastic race to win that title. And again, this is the format. These are the rules. And Jesse kicked everyone's butt on Saturday night.
What does it say that Junior Motorsports had 3 cars of the final 4 drivers and couldn't get it done?
Again, I mean, I think in that situation, if we were running at Talladega, then they would have had a big advantage, right? Because teammates work together. But I don't think it matters at Phoenix. You got to have the fastest car, be the best car all day long. Jesse started out bad, got way better. Connor Zilic started off good, got worse. Justin Allgaier had issues. Carson Kvapil just never really got into the fight. So, I just think, I don't know that it really says anything other than I think the 88 team kind of missed the setup enough that Connor just couldn't make up for it. And Jesse got better as the race went on. Credit to the 2 crew.
Shifting now to the Craftsman Truck Series finale, going back to the first act on Friday night. This was the one that ended how everybody felt it should and thought it would, in Corey Heim winning the race to secure the championship. But boy, how he did it is something that we'll never forget, because much like we ended up with on Sunday with Denny Hamlin, Friday night, I thought for sure when Scott Zipadelli made the call for 4 tires and it dropped Corey Heim to 10th ahead of that late final restart, that was it. That was how he was going to lose it. And then, as you alluded to earlier, 7 wide at Phoenix, of all places, happened. Corey goes 10th to 2nd in one move and then passes Ty Majeski on the second overtime to get it done. And I'll throw some of the numbers out at you. That was his 12th win of the year, 12 of 25, 48% of the races this year. Corey Heim was in victory lane. More than 1,600 laps led. Both of those are single season records in the Truck Series. He's the first driver ever to lead every race of a single season in any NASCAR National Series. His average finish in the playoffs, you talk about athletes elevating when it matters, 1.4 in the playoffs by himself. And he won 5 of 7 in the postseason to get the job done. Is there any word, Tom, that we can use about Corey Heim's season besides dominant, of course, other than just magical?
Impossible, except that he did it. So, yeah. I can't use that phrase. It was incredible. I don't think we're ever going to see another season quite like this again in any of NASCAR's National Series. I'm sorry. It gets harder as you elevate. And so now Corey goes to a mix of races for next year, the mix of series. He's not running for a championship. I don't know that that'll ever be done again. It was absolutely a dream season. And with that, we're going to take a break. More, though, on Corey and the Truck Series and more stuff when we come back.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point. either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com. Welcome back to the show. Just a few minutes left here, opening up our last lap segment, even as we continue to talk NASCAR trucks. But first, I want to just quickly point out, Jacob, that NBC on Sunday in the Cup race, when it was over, for those who didn't know, Ryan Blaney actually won the race with Brad Keselowski second. On behalf of the good folks at NBC, we apologize to you that they could be not concerned enough to actually interview the winner of the race on national TV before they shuffled off to the football pre-race or pregame portion of their event, Football Night in America. But just wanted to let everybody know Ryan Blaney did win and Brad Keselowski finished second.
Yes, he did.
Back to the trucks. And back to the total domination by Corey Heim. You know, there were some other people in that race as well.
Yes, there were. Ty Majeski, we mentioned him. Corey Heim passed him in the second overtime. Majeski comes up second in the race, second in his title defending season. He'll take over the 88 from Matt Crafton next year at ThorSport in what I think will continue to be a very, very strong Ty Majeski. And the only thing I'm going to say on that is I hope that Duke and Rhonda Thorson are smart enough to keep Ty Majeski and Joe Shear Jr. together as driver and crew chief, even as Ty goes to the 88, because I do think that pairing is just really, really good right now together. But speaking of Matt Crafton, thoughts now that his full-time career, Tom, is over, and I was bummed out that he couldn't do better than 13th on Friday night, but I also wasn't surprised. No. And I agree on Ty and Joe Shear. I do hope Joe goes over with him to that truck. I don't know, Matt just hasn't been Matt in the last year or two for the most part. And so I'm not surprised he was 13th. I think, again, like Kyle Busch, Matt's used to an entirely different style of driving, and he was at his best, when the driver had more input than, now we in this world of downforce and all of that, it's just not the same for him. So he's still going to run some races, but he'll spend more time on the dirt with his dirt car and have a good time, and good for him. He's earned that right. Quick thoughts, by the way, on Caden Honeycutt as well, who had the improper start penalty at the very beginning of the race, went all the way to the tail, comes all the way back to third in the race, third in the championship, had a shot maybe to steal it late. It just didn't quite work out. I don't think anybody had what the 11 had, but was this a coming out season for Caden Honeycutt to where he could really show what he is made of before he, we believe, takes over for Corey Heim next year at Tricon? Yeah, I think we can make that unofficially official. And yes, this was a coming out year. You and I both have known Caden for a few years, so we've watched him come up the ranks, and we knew what he could do. But the rest of the world didn't. And that kid is a fighter. And what I mean is not fist fighter. He will never give up on a race. He runs hard every lap. I think, honestly, the rest of the competition is lucky he had to go to the back, because if he'd had track position the whole race, I think he was the only one capable of challenging the 11 truck, and not saying he would have beaten him, but
I think Caden definitely, that 52 team was so strong at the end of this championship run here. And I think it says a lot about that team as well. Stuart Friesen's put an amazing group of guys together. Now, Caden's going to go over, and I believe it'll be the 11. But if he gets in that truck, don't expect him to have a Corey Heim season right off. It's going to take that team a little time to get together. But I do think Caden will win races and run for the championship.
Quick buy or sell here as our last lap, and I'm going to challenge you 30 seconds or less on each of the bullets. First,
good luck.
Formula One driver right now for Red Bull Racing, Yuki Tsunoda, is all of a sudden being thrown around as a possible candidate for one of the Dale Coyne Indy cars next year. Are you buying or selling that rumor?
Well, I don't know how true it is, but I'm surely buying the prospect of seeing Yuki Tsunoda over here running IndyCar with people like Santino Ferrucci, because honestly, the personality and entertainment factor would double in the IndyCar series if Yuki Tsunoda runs it. So yeah, come on, let's go. I think he can win races.
Speaking in the IndyCar side also, Kyle Kirkwood, multi-year extension in IndyCar with Andretti Global. Is it the right move? He did finish 4th in points and win 3 races this year.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt, it's the right move. I think Kyle Kirkwood is one of the top drivers of the series. He's only going to get better. I'm glad they re-signed him, and it's good to see some continuity. I think we need that because we had a lot of other driver shifts over this offseason. Silly season's been active in that series.
Are you buying or selling that our main man, Connor Zilisch, will make a deep playoff run when he moves to Trackhouse Racing in the Cup Series next year?
That's a good question. I think Connor Zilisch, depending on the format, he's going to win. He's going to win at least one road course race. I know that for sure. So if we still have a playoff and you win to get in, I definitely think he can run for the championship, but he's obviously going to have his moments to struggle. The competition's way higher up there. It's a different car, but yeah, I think I think he's going to be very competitive if Trackhouse gives him a competitive car. By the way, today I saw they want to see him run the double and run the Indy 500, just not next year. So keep an eye on that for the future for Connor Zilisch. I love that message.
Yes, I do too. How amazing would that be? And real quick, and then I'll let you just take it and close it out. Buying or selling that we get a settlement in the NASCAR versus 2311 and Front Row lawsuit before the trial date on December 1st?
Well, I guess it depends how happy a Thanksgiving NASCAR wants to have. If they'd like to have a happy Thanksgiving with turkey and all the trimmings, they'll find a way to settle the thing before they go to trial and all heck breaks loose. If not, the season between Thanksgiving and Christmas may not be so merry for the folks at NASCAR, and we'll keep everybody up to speed on that as it gets closer. But that's going to wrap things up for this edition of the Tom Baker Show. Went way too fast, but don't worry, there'll be another one next week here on Powertube TV and across our digital channels of Steering Wheel Nation. For more great content, steeringwheelnation.com. And also at The Wheel Nation on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want to connect with me personally, at Tom Baker TV on Instagram, at the SWN Tom on Twitter. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.